Hello and welcome to Picture Astrology. In this quick video, we will learn about placement of Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. And both of these indicators, Jupiter as well as Gemini, have a lot to do with your mental and intellectual capabilities. And thus, Jupiter in Gemini can play a big role in shaping up a person's psyche as well as mental disposition. So we will definitely look at that, and apart from it, we will also see some of the physical characteristics which are closely associated with Jupiter in Gemini, and also how it affects your relationships. So let's start by talking about how this position impacts a person's physique. Now, Gemini sign is ruled by Mercury and it is airy in nature. And this combination of air quality and Mercury, which is one of the youngest planet which is considered in Vedic astrology, and it is also referred as a prince, not as a full-grown man, but a man or a boy who has just hit his adolescence. And these qualities actually make Gemini as one of the most skinny and lean sign when it comes to physical features. And anyone who has Gemini dominant finds it very difficult to gain weight. Now, on the other hand, Jupiter is pretty much exact opposite of it. Jupiter is the biggest planet after Sun, obviously, and in Vedic astrology every celestial object is called planet or graha actually, which is loosely translated into planet. So the biggest planet is obviously Sun, but Jupiter, apart from luminaries, is the second largest planet, and it is full of gas. There is no hard surface on Jupiter. The topmost layer of Jupiter is actually dense gaseous material, and Jupiter also represents fat in your body, the bodily fat. The stronger the Jupiter, the more body fat and the tendency to accumulate fat easily you will get. So you see, Gemini as well as Jupiter are exactly opposite in nature here, and this actually makes for a very good physique. Both of these planets are tall, so it imparts good height to person. Jupiter is known for its magnetic and attractive qualities. Jupiter has the greatest amount of gravitational force, and Mercury, as we just discussed, is considered as a young prince. Again, the combination of these two shows a attractive magnetic personality with a great combination of young features because of Gemini as well as an old head because of Jupiter. Now, obviously, for physical characteristic of this placement of Jupiter in Gemini to manifest, it is imperative that this combination either affects strongly your ascendant or has a direct aspect on ascendant lord at least. If that happens, then these physical features which we just talked about are sure to manifest. Now, if you see Gemini, which is owned by Mercury, and Mercury represents your intellectual ability. At the same time, Gemini is the stage of your life when you are just growing out of the infant stage and starting to use your sensory abilities, your senses, your intellect a little bit. It is the time when you just start speaking. It is the time when, for the first time in your life, you are able to discern between things. So basically, it is the beginning of the intellectual abilities in your mind, which is owned by the planet Mercury itself. Whereas Jupiter actually represents higher wisdom and intelligence. And sign of Gemini is something which can give you great verbal skills, great linguistic skills. But Jupiter, the planet of wisdom, will tell you what is the right time to use a word, what is the right word to use at a certain time, and what is the right place to use it. So that higher wisdom is controlled by Jupiter, whereas the sharpness of your intellect, sharpness and large vocabulary, someone who knows maybe 100 synonyms of a word, that sharpness, that intellect is controlled by Gemini and Mercury. So when these two combine together, this actually gives rise to a person who could be really eloquent speaker, who really has the ability to impress others by virtue of not just the sharpness of his intellect, but also the wisdom and ability to use it at the right time and the right place. And thus, placement of Jupiter in Gemini, you can find people with this placement, very successful in, say, any kind of salesmanship. They are really able to sell and impress others. Marketing kind of jobs, they can market things like nobody else can. And the great thing about their sales abilities or their marketing abilities is that these abilities are backed by a fundamentally good foundation of knowledge. You can easily relate that when a great intelligence and wisdom combines with good intelligence, a good intellect, it will give rise to a person who actually has good knowledge of sometimes many discipline, multidisciplinary knowledge, because sign of Gemini being the dual sign really support more than one activity in life. And if this placement strongly impacts your 10th house or 10th lord, you can find that people with this placement are simultaneously successful in more than one profession. They can continue to do one 9 to 5 job as their primary vocation, but at the same time also be a blogger or also have a side business. Or this placement also is good for any kind of partnership related businesses. They are smart, they know how to keep relations with others in a good way. So partnership business are also very prominent and very successful with this placement. And at the same time, the linguistic abilities can find expression as great poets and writers, even good debaters, people who can debate with high level of intellectual abilities, diplomats. Jupiter also shows laws and a cosmic wisdom. People, diplomats who can easily put forth their nation's interest in front of a diverse audience, a diverse multinational audience, and also the ability to convince people of different faiths. Among other things, Jupiter also represents faith and religion. So diplomats, and in some cases even missionaries who take the message of their religion to distant lands, they all are represented by this placement. Now another primary signification of Jupiter is that it represents your children's or kids or your progeny or your next generation. And Mercury sign or the sign of Gemini is a dual sign, and it actually represents more than one thing. So Jupiter with Gemini is always associated or is known to endow a person with more than one child for sure. And Jupiter being an indicative of not just kids, but the great joy and happiness you get from your children, or it in terms of emotions, the emotion of Jupiter is that feeling of joy which you get when you are playing with kids. So this placement is not just related with more than one kids, but it is an indicator of kids doing very well in life and kids also being devoted to family and with good values. So although this position is associated with many great qualities, one distinct negative point which can often be seen in horoscopes when moon and ascendant are weak is that people with this combination can indulge in a lot of talk, a lot of gossip. They can find a lot of interest in spreading grapevine, in spending a lot of time with friends, and basically sometimes invest too much time in intellectual activities which are not so productive. They tend to love the thrill of engaging their intellect even if the activity they are doing is not productive. And this usually happens, as I said, when moon and ascendant are weak. Otherwise, this is one of the rare combinations in astrology which has primarily all the positive and all the benefic significations associated with it. So friends, this was my quick analysis of Gemini sign placed Jupiter. Please do like and subscribe to my channel to continue to get updates like this, and we will definitely look at the impact of Jupiter in Gemini for all 12 ascendants in coming videos, so stay tuned. Thank you so much for again spending time with me, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.